Hey guys, welcome back to another week of the Get to Know Me series. For being here today, Hey, Facebook, YouTube, and all places in between. Welcome back to the Get to Know Me series. I am your host, Captain Mike, and boy, do we got a big show today. For me personally, it's going to be one of my favorites, reconnecting with someone that I could definitely say I go way back with. So I want to make sure that I get all of his accolades correct. Today on the show, we have a four-time All Big Ten player for Iowa University. We have a two-time Canadian Football League All-Star, five-time Canadian Football League East All-Star, 2007 Grey Cup winner, and the 2007 CFL Defensive Player of the Year. Today, we get to know Mr. Jovon Johnson.
Yeah, great shit.
I try to teach them about being the role model in the community and also being able to go out and make plays and be a professional in the field.
Wiley, a two-step drop, throws a pick, and on the return for the Riders, it is Jovon Johnson, the 15, the 10, the 5, touchdown! Mr. Consistency, didn't miss.
Well, again,
You can take us back all the way to Iowa days.
being overlooked has been probably the main reason that has fueled me. All the way back to when I was in high school, I played quarterback and I got two offers to play college football, and one was to Iowa, one was to Kent State. I went to Iowa in hopes of, trying to prove myself. And when I first stepped foot on campus, everybody kind of looked at me and was like, "Who's this guy?" Nobody really thought that I would ever amount to anything. They just thought of me as another guy. And lo and behold, I started as a true freshman and went on to become second all time in interceptions in Iowa football history. Had a shot at the league and dealt with the same thing. In the NFL, they said I was too small. They said I wasn't fast enough. All the different intangibles that they look for.
Well, they call him Mr. Consistent, and you can see why right there. And so let's bring on the show right now to get to know Mr. Jovon Johnson. Jovon, welcome to the show, sir.
I appreciate it, Money Mike. How you doing, man?
I am all right. It's been a long time no see, but man, hearing that clip and hearing you talk about all those people that overlooked you, yeah, they were a little wrong.
I think we're a lot wrong, but that's it's just the way life goes.
Absolutely. Well, so I'm going to give the viewers a little background on us. Jovon and I actually met growing up back when we were about 6 and 7 years old. We're both from Erie, Pennsylvania, and we grew up in the same neighborhood. And it's part of the reason why I wanted to bring Jovon on today, because to say the area we grew up in wasn't the best, would kind of be an understatement at times. It's a whole lot nicer now. But we had some struggles growing up in our neighborhood, and Jovon has been kind of one of those shining lights from that time frame, not just because of his athletic achievements, but because of his academic achievements and because of what he has gone on to do. So, Jovon, we kind of went over your accolades. Iowa University, you saw in the video, played in the NFL and then on to the CFL, the Canadian Football League. And so we know that that passion had to start somewhere. So I want you to go in the Wayback Machine to Harbor Homes and kind of tell me, when did you first realize that you had a real love and passion for the game of football?
I mean, I thought growing up, I didn't really care for football as much as basketball was my thing. I was a basketball player growing up. I would love to go out and play in the yard playing football, but I wasn't really into organized football at first. It wasn't until about the 8th grade at Wayne Middle School where I actually picked up playing organized football. I was asked to come out, and I was the quarterback in my first year. And in that first year, we went undefeated. So that's kind of where the passion for it really begun. Ended up going to East High School for 2 years, played there, played quarterback. We had some really talented players, but a lot of misguided individuals. And a lot of those guys came from the same neighborhood that we grew up in. Just not having father figures, not having, male role models that could keep them away from the street activity, the fighting, the selling drugs, all of the above. So I ended up transferring after my sophomore season, high school year, and going to Mercer's Prep, where I was able to learn a lot about discipline, a lot about hard work, a lot about being on time, being where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, doing what you're supposed to do. Academics was a very different challenge at Mercer's versus at Erie East High School. But taught me a lot, got me prepared for, life after football, so to speak. But, just in the time frame, I was learning a lot about academics and, how much it would take me a lot further in life than football ever would. So I had some outstanding teammates, some great teams that I played on, some not so great teams that I played on. But all of them were just life lessons, learning a lot about myself, learning a lot about interacting with other people, and always keeping a positive attitude on everything that you do.
Right, absolutely. You with this video series is really kind of honing in on, the passions that God has given you and how do you get there, that journey along the way. And we got mountains and we got valleys along the way. And, but it's a lot of work and effort. And to kind of fill you in, Jovon, we're here in Berwick, Pennsylvania, now on the eastern side of the state. And Berwick's a big football town. Our high school football is the thing. Berwick Bulldogs all day. And but a lot of the kids in high school, that's what they see. They see football, and it's can be kind of consuming, and they have dreams and aspirations of getting to where you got. So if you were to be talking to kids, which we'll kind of get into now as kind of the role you're in now in your life, what do you say to those kids that are looking at just the football aspect while they're still in high school and not realizing the steps for college and so on?
I give them something what I call the 3 pillars. Number 1, having a vision. All right, you have to see yourself achieving the goals that you have set for yourself. But number 2, you have to understand the process of how to get there. And one thing a lot of young kids do is they want to skip the process to get to the vision. And you can't skip steps to get there. You got to have an outstanding work ethic. You got to be a student first. We always talk about the word student athlete and how it's written. Students have to be students in academic success first before you can become an athlete. Because if you don't excel in the classroom, you can never excel on the field. And that's one of the number one things. And then the last part of it is loving yourself, loving others, and keeping a positive attitude on everything you do. Having outstanding character, outstanding discipline, staying consistent, and just doing the right thing. And being a coach now, I tell my kids now, I have one rule, and that one rule is do the right thing. Because you know right from wrong. If you stick to that and live by that, you'll always make the right decision, and you won't go wondering what if or what could have been if you had made a decision the opposite direction. So, I mean, starting with the vision, if your goal is to play in the NFL, then, you have to see you see little, you see a lot. And if you see a lot, you see nothing. So basically what that means is, if you have a vision and your vision is you see the next step ahead, and then the next step after that, and the next step after that, then eventually you have come a lot longer and further than you thought you ever would, versus seeing the big picture. Like, you see the bright lights of NFL, you see the bright lights of playing professionally, and then you get caught up in that life, and then you never get there because you never took the steps in order to put you in position to make that jump. So, being able to understand that, I think it'll help a lot of young kids understand what it really takes to get to the next level, and then from the next level to the next level after that.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you even said, if you can't make it in the classroom, you're not going to make it on the field. So many kids get so caught up in the play on the field, but don't realize the preparation and the hours that you got to put in. And even with some of the school subjects, I mean, if you look at a playbook, you're looking at angles, you're looking at timing, you're counting your steps, you're doing all these things that you learn first in the classroom, right?
Yep, absolutely. Every time we host a meeting and we install something, that install has landmarks, that install has depth, that landmark has angles. It has a lot of different things that go into playing the game of football, but it's also the same when you're thinking about life. Like, life is about taking the right angle. If you're in an altercation, walk away, taking the angle to get away from that situation. It's all tied in together, but a lot of times we see the bigger picture and we don't see what's right in front of us. Instead, like, we just go with the flow, and eventually you fall somewhere that you don't want to be. But at the end of the day, if you take the necessary steps to be successful, anybody can achieve all the things that I've accomplished.
That's right. I love that. And you said in there too, you teaching your students now, your players now, about, treating yourself with respect, and then treating others with respect. We in scripture, we know that Jesus talks about, love God first, but love your neighbor as yourself. And those are the three most important, laws that he lays out. And so I know personally from following your career and seeing how you've come back to the community and supported those that supported you. You never left Erie, quote unquote, and you've always gone back and given back. How important was it in your journey that people recognized you treating people with respect, you doing the right thing? How important was it to you as you were climbing the steps of success to be that role model, not just for the kids in the neighborhood and that cliche that athletes give, but even your own teammates, your family, so on and so forth?
I mean, I always wanted to be the type of person that people could look up to, the type of person that a lot of people respect. But I mean, what comes with that is you have to give respect to get respect. So you can't just go out and disrespect people and think people are going to respect you. So I've always been extremely respectful, whether that be teachers, whether that be strangers, whether that be teammates, coaches, whatever the case may be. I've always been super respectful to, people's time, people's energy, people's space. You got to understand that everybody's not shaped and formed the same way that you are. I was wired a little bit different growing up in the neighborhood we grew up in. But at the end of the day, I had to respect everyone in order for me to gain the respect that I was given. So it's always earned, it's never given. But that really taught me a lot about, how to handle certain situations, these things that come up that are unexpected, how to be super positive in the midst of adversity and how to overcome it. Because in life you deal with so many different struggles and obstacles that you got to try to figure out a way to get through, and it can take a toll on people mentally, and you might not even realize that the respect you're not giving yourself is rubbing off on how you're disrespecting other people. So you got to respect yourself first, and then it'll rub off on other people, and you'll show them respect, and you'll get respect in return.
Absolutely. I love that. Now, I want to pivot to some fun stuff here as well. I want to go back a little ways. I forget. It was probably 2000. I'm not going to go that far back yet, but I want to go back to about 2000. I want to say 2004-ish. It's all going together. But I'm at the grocery store, and I'm a big wrestling fan, and I open up a copy of WWE Magazine. And there, chilling with his fellow Steeler teammates and Big Ben and everybody, is my boy Jovon with a big old number 2 keychain backstage at Monday Night Raw. And I see the picture in the magazine, and we were even talking about off air. You were teammates with future WWE champion Big E, and you've gotten to do some amazing things and be amazing places and drive an amazing Bumblebee looking car at one point. But we won't talk about the Mustang, but just all that. I got to ask, like, what are some fun experiences looking back, maybe some fun interactions that you had along your career with some of these people?
Yeah. that was 2006, actually. You were very close, but in 2006, being a part of the Steelers organization, being able to hang out with a lot of those guys that people look up to, the Troy Polamalu's of the world, the Ben Roethlisbergers, Alan Faneca, you name it, Hines Ward. I was around these guys daily, and I do some extremely cool stuff. Being backstage at the WWE event and being able to meet the wrestlers, and just knowing how tuned in that they are to what they're doing to perform for everybody else. It's a lot like football. Like, they take that very serious, and they really do a heck of a job putting on a show for fans night in and night out. And those guys very rarely get a day off. Right. And it's a lot like football, but at the same time, I was able to meet Joe Green, and I was able to meet not Jim Brown, my guy, the running back for the Steelers from back in the day, Jerome Bettis, and
the bus,
I can't think, Franco Harris. I was able to meet these guys. Mel Blount, I met, some of these Hall of Fame players that really revolutionized the game of football, and what they were able to do and how they made the game change so much. It was amazing to be in the same room with them and have conversations with them and get treated just as if I was, as big as on a scale as they were. So, I was able to do some amazing things. I was able to ride in some of the fancy cars and, do a lot of things where you spend a lot of money in one day that I, regret now in life. But, you do so many different things, being able to be on that scale and in that league. And, but it always come back to being humble, remaining humble, and making sure that you got all your ducks in a row, because every day they're looking to replace you with somebody younger, faster, more talented. So you really had to stay at the top of your game.
You ever have one that you wish you could have back? You go up to Franco, slap him in the back or something. Did you ever have an interaction? You're like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
No, not necessarily, because back to respecting people and you giving the same respect. So I never did anything out of the ordinary like that, but I've definitely had some very interesting conversations with teammates, just about life in general, and were eye openers for me, to really see like the way other people view life and the game of football, and how they were able to manifest it and save a lot of money and become perennial business guys that make a lot of money off of business. And it was a very interesting time in my life to be part of the Steelers organization and see just the way a lot of different guys were built.
Yeah. And, it's interesting once you, especially, where we came from and the struggles that we had, when you reach a level where you're kind of a colleague and people look at you eye to eye. I've been blessed to have interactions with, celebrities and high-end businessmen, and they just kind of talk to you. They got that whole saying, they put their pants on one leg at a time. It's true. And, when you get the right one and they want to interact with you, but it's also a reminder that the work you've put in to get this part, and for me, the work that God has done in me to get me this far is a blessing. We remember where we have and what gets to be. So you go on to the CFL, Saskatchewan Roughriders and Winnipeg Blue Bombers, correct?
Yep.
And you guys in 2007 reached the pinnacle. For those that are not aware, in the CFL, Canadian Football League, the Grey Cup is the Super Bowl there, and it's the World Championship. And there have been so many talented players that you've come out of the CFL. You're thinking of your Doug Flutys, your Warren Moons, on and on. And so in 2007, you guys reached the pinnacle. You get the Grey Cup. What was that like, knowing that years from Wayne to East to Mercyhurst to Iowa through the NFL, leaving the NFL, having to start here, and here you are at the pinnacle of your sport? What was that like?
It was a surreal moment to be in the moment and having so many teammates that worked their tails off to get there. Because I came from the NFL about midway through that season. And I was really inserted in the lineup without much time to really prepare for it. But it was an outstanding moment because, those guys embraced me, they accepted me, and we had a very, very talented team, a talented roster. Our quarterback, Kerry Joseph, was amazing. He was probably the best in the league at that time. And, we just had a well-rounded group of guys who believed in each other. They believed in the vision. They trusted the process, and they loved one another. They loved going out to compete together. They loved hanging out off the field. And that chemistry was there no matter what. So in the Grey Cup, it was no moment that we felt like that game was going to not be ours. And we went through adversity. And, there were times in the game where it didn't look so good. And then, somebody make a play, and then it ignite everybody else. And then we were back on the roll again. So, it was a surreal moment in my life because leaving from Pittsburgh, and the year that I left from Pittsburgh, they actually won the Super Bowl.
Right.
So going into Canada and having that same type of experience was definitely a dream come true, a blessing. And, only God could write it that way.
Yeah, that's right. And then you go fast forward 4 more years, and you've reached the pinnacle of the team sport. And we heard a bit in your bio video. You've been undersized, you've been undervalued, you've been underappreciated, all of those unders. And in 2011, you get recognized by your peers, by, the writers, you get recognized by the league as Defensive Player of the Year. You reach the pinnacle of your individual activity. That had to have been just amazing in and of itself.
That's something that you can't even put into words what it feels like as an accomplishment, because never in a million years did I ever even think that.
We're missing. Looks like we're missing you. Hold on a second. I'm sorry, Jovon. It looks like we had a little bit of a hiccup there.
Yeah, I'm here.
There you go. All right. I know you just went on this nice, thing about this achievement, and it didn't come through. Could you give us again just what that felt like as an individual again?
Yeah, I just said, it was a dream come true. It was a blessing in disguise. I was on a team that was fortunate to, have great teammates that allowed me to be able to be me and play the game the way I played. I was able to make some outstanding plays in that season, and to become the first defensive back ever to win the award in itself is an amazing feat. And I just put the work in. I believed in myself from day one. I knew that I can make things happen if I was given the opportunity. And, it's just a testament to the players that I played with that I was able to get it done because they were challenging me every day. And they just helped me get there by making plays themselves, which kept me in position to make a play.
Nice. And you should be. It's one of those moments where you look back and you just kind of go, and I love how you're humble and you bring in your teammates, but I hope, and I know you took the time to look where you came from and look what you went through, and that you, like, I'm there, like God brought me here and I got this moment. And that's something hopefully other people, you talk about it, you have that vision and you go for it. And so we hope that someone else watching this will want to reach that. Well, I want to be respectful of your time as we hit on. And so we're going to bring this into the home stretch. So once again, we're going to get in the way back machine. This time we're going to go way back. You don't probably remember this, but for those watching, so we used to play ball in the way the projects were, the Harbor Homes, they had an administrative building, and in front of it across the street was a big field, and behind it was a smaller field. So depending on the day, how many kids were out there, we would play in the front and in the back. And as you can see, I'm a rather large individual. And to say I was a husky boy all my life would be dead on. Jovon just looks more jacked than he did back then. And so I'll never forget, we were playing, and I was always huffing and puffing, but I loved to be out there with the guys and girls sometimes. And there was this one day, and Jovon was talking smack for some reason. And we were lined up against each other, and he was on offense and I was on defense, and I had enough. And my big old booty went running and I intercepted the 2011 CFL Defensive Player of the Year, and I took it to the house. So I can put my hat on that for going forward. And then I'll remember tuning in to ESPN, and they were playing one of your games, and my son was probably 6, and he's sitting next to me, and I went, yeah, that's Daddy's friend from back in the day. And he's like, yeah, he's fast. I said, well, let me tell you a story. So to wrap this up, I want to ask you a question that I ask all my guests, and we want to thank you so much. And in a moment, we want to give you time to plug anything you want to plug and kind of tell us where you're at now, because I'm personally so proud of seeing what you're doing now and giving back at Erie High and Erie News Now and everything else. But if Jovon Johnson of 2022 could go back and talk to Jovon Johnson at 12 years old, what would he tell him?
I'd tell him to, stay the course, understand that, you have a outstanding ability, but nothing in life will be given to you. You got to earn it all. And one thing that I would tell him is, academics matter. And, I know when I was 12 going into the middle school, that was probably the first time in my life that, I had bad grades in 6th grade that way, enter a new territory, not understanding what I was getting into. That was the first time that I ever had to go through that. At the same time, I tell them, make sure you take care of academics first, and then, stay the course, trust the process, put the work in, and, just keep going, trust yourself, and, and always, put the best foot forward.
Absolutely. That'd be great. And I'm sure he'd listen too. He might look at you a little weird, but I'm sure he'd listen. So Jovon, you want to kind of fill us in? What are you doing now post-football?
Yeah, so I'm now I run a mentoring program called the Jovon Johnson Academy, where I mentor a lot of different athletes. I train athletes off the field, on field. I also have a sports camp that I've done for now 10 years, but COVID kind of put a damper on that one for the last 2, but we will be bringing that back. I'm also, a sports analyst with Erie News Now at WICU, talking NFL, breaking it down, giving them a player's inside look on what goes on in the locker rooms and all of those types of things. I also partner with the NFL Flag League to run a youth flag league here in Erie, and I'm currently the head football coach at Northeast High School, just east of Erie, Pennsylvania. So, and that's where I am now. So, giving back and teaching the guys the game of football, and understanding that it's a lot more to it. The commitment to it needs to be there. If you want to be successful in the game, you got to commit yourself to it and put the work in all the time. So, it's just one of those things that I've been fortunate along the journey to be able to give back and provide kids with the same encouragement that I wish somebody had given me when I was 12 years old, like you mentioned.
You didn't understand the word retirement very well, did you?
That don't mean I'm retired from life.
That's right. That's right. Well, I'll have links to all of your social that you want out there, and all the links to your camps and anything. And I know that kids have traveled in, and you're open for speaking engagements, I believe, as well. And
Yep.
So yeah, definitely encourage you guys to reach out and learn more about all that Jovon has going on. So, Jovon, I just want to say thank you so much for everything. And personally, I talk about you quite often as far as, those of us that made it out. And I couldn't be prouder of you. And I got real love for you still. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in, and make sure that you have been watching. I'm going to have a surprise question in there. To win a prize, you leave it in the comments, and just make sure you tune in next week and every Wednesday at 12 o'clock here for Get to Know from the Salvation Army. Have a great one now. See you later.